my testimony remains the same. If God doesn't do another thing, he's already done more than enough for me to praise him for the rest of my life. And I am thankful and grateful that every now and then, in addition to being more than enough and supplying our needs, God messes around and gives us sometimes some of what we want. And he is worthy to be praised, not only for what he does, but for who he is. Our message this morning is entitled Lost and Found. One week ago today, January 4th, 2026, sometime between about 6:30 in the evening and 6:45, my four-legged family member, Deacon Jones, the 2-year-old Jack Russell Terrier, ran away. From right over there, he got out the gate, and when I called his name, nothing. He's never been out and about overnight. He's never not slept under a roof that provided a foundation for his safety. My bride was in Houston, Texas. Deacon and I were in Chilton, Texas. Well, I was still in Chilton. I had no idea where Deacon was. Four-legged family members are not the only ones who get lost. I'm really so thankful that I'm able to preach this message entitled Lost and Found. Thank you, Joel, for your prophetic words on Sunday evening saying, he will be found tomorrow. But I'm so glad this is not just lost. But before we get into the and found part, we've got to talk about the lost. And so if you'll allow me, we're going to use, I know this is going to be surprising to you. Deacon is an illustration for so much that God shares with us in Scripture. Luke chapter 15. The entire chapter is 3 parables, but they're one truth. The parable of the lost sheep, the parable of the lost coin, the parable of the lost son. In chapter 15, verse 11, in the NIV, Jesus continued. There was a man who had 2 sons. Everybody's not the same. This man had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father," I'm glad that he didn't so lose his respect that he did not any longer call him. "Father, give me my share of the estate." Here comes the selfishness. He wants what he wants. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country. Yeah, that's a sign that you're lost. When you leave the Father and head off for a distant country, no matter how far away it is, if you're not with the Father, you're headed for a distant country. And there he squandered his wealth in wild living. Deacon has yet to tell me what he did Sunday night. He has yet to express to me what interactions he had. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. Let me just share with you that on the lost side of things, when it rains, it pours. And while you may have just started off headed towards a distant country, things happen. Life's, and all kinds of things can give you trouble. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his field to feed pigs. I don't know if the man didn't know that he was Jewish. I don't know if the man didn't recognize his religion and didn't realize that's one of the worst things you could do to a Jew. But there he was, verse 16. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating. But no one gave him anything. That's lost. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am, starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned. Yes, this is still a church that preaches about sin, because anything outside the will of God is sin. I have sinned against heaven and against you. Brothers and sisters, sin is not just against God, it's also against people. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. He had his speech all prepared, and he said it. Let's see what the father has to say about his speech. But the father said to his servants, quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate. We're going to stop right there in the reading. Lost and found. If I were to give you the sermon in a sentence, it would go just like this. God will let you leave and get lost, but he wants you to come home. In the first two parts of the trilogy of parables, the lost sheep were searched for. The lost coin was searched for, but the lost son was just simply out there on his own. I want to ask this text and walk with you, if you'll allow it. Why did God let him run away? Look at the gate. I saw no dog. Why did God let him run away? When we look at our family members who are not behaving like they were taught by their parents, why does God let them run away. Verses 11 through 16. I want to tell you, in my first point, I believe God lets them run away to learn lost is lousy. Some people have to learn the hard way. I don't know if you ever heard the phrase, a hard head makes a soft behind. That man who had 2 sons, and that younger son who said, give me my share of the estate, went from a spoiled baby boy to wanting what pigs eat. That's a long way down. It's a long way to go from having provisions and being cared for and being loved and being sheltered and being looked out for and never having to worry about a thing. Yep, I'm telling every last one of you, probably under the age of 18, when you live in your guardian's house and they feed you and they provide for you and they look out for you, you don't appreciate what you got until it's gone. Every now and then, you might want to tell mama and daddy, thank you. Every now and then, regardless of how you feel about them and what you think they're not giving you, feeling like they're being a little too rough on you, feeling like they're being a little too strict on you, feeling like they won't let you go to just any and every party or hang out with just everybody, la-di-da-di. Every now and then, you might just want to say thank you just for a warm place to sleep. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for the food. Why did God let him run away? He needed to learn lost is lousy. The sheep were searched for. The coin was searched for. But this brother went out, and even when the famine struck the land, nobody had anything to offer him. One of the things that hurts me the most is that for 2 years, I've been feeding this dog. I've been giving this dog a place to stay. I've been training this dog. I've been pouring into this dog. I've been hanging out with this dog, and he chose to walk out the gate. Oh, he's a purebred Jack Russell Terrier. His mama and daddy were both Jack Russell Terriers. I know exactly who their names are. And when I looked and researched, I saw something encouraging when he was lost. It said that 93% of pets that are lost are returned and that are found. And that was encouraging to me because when I think back about the dog before Deacon, whose name was Remy, the beginning of the end of Remy started on a Sunday after I had preached at First Baptist Church, Chilton, and I went back to Houston, and the dog had gotten out of the gate. So I was feeling some kind of way when I looked at that gate, and this dog, who was literally my road dog, was nowhere to be found. And when I called his name, couldn't hear anything. I recognized that there are bobcats in the area. There are stray dogs in the area. There are 18-wheelers in the area that have, on some of these roads, a 75-mile-an-hour speed limit. No food, no treats, no fun. When I was hanging up signs, I went to Family Dollar because some places wouldn't allow me to hang up signs. And they allowed me to hang up a sign. And one guy said, an older gentleman, let me see that sign. All right. If he's not already roadkill, we'll help you find him. Man, that's not really what I need to hear right now. The dog is missing. I don't know where he is. I already am trying to keep negative thoughts out of my brain, out of my mind. I can't imagine what the father in this parable is going through when his son chose to walk away and go spend everything on riotous living. Let me give you another statistic that I learned that was not encouraging. 20% of pets return to home on their own. That means if I just sat in the parsonage and waited, the likelihood of him coming back was very low. Brothers and sisters, all of these empty spots in the pews, the lost are not likely to run to the church house. We may think all we've got to do is just come and have good enough singing and have good enough worship and have good enough Sunday school and have good enough Wednesday night. That's not enough. We need to emphasize with the lost. We need to empathize with what they're going through and what they're facing. We need to go looking for them without piety. I'm not putting my robe on when I'm looking for my dog. And the likelihood is that we will find them broken. He had no money. He prepared a speech. He was lost. Why did God let him run away? To learn. Lost is lousy. We need to keep that in mind. For every pew, it represents there's somebody that God wants to be blessed, to be encouraged, to be discipled, to be helped, to be found, to be cared for, to be loved, to be encouraged, to be told what you're going through, you're not going through alone. I've been through that. The same God who took care of me can take care of you. Being lost is lousy. Why did God let him run away? To learn that, figure out that to be found is fantastic. As bad as it is to be lost, I'm so thankful I can stand here without just bawling my eyes out, wondering where the dog is, and that being on my mind rather than standing here and preaching this truth. Verses 17 through 27. Here it is. The dad, after he came to his senses and after he prepared his speech, the dad was looking for him, as was his custom, with open arms. For those that don't know what the Kazaza ceremony is, it is the community placing judgment on the one who likely caused shame on a family. And the community coming together, taking clay pots and breaking them, representing the cutting off of a family member and shame. That's kind of what happens when people are separated from their loved ones because of sin. County Road 4022 and Eakin Drive. For those of you that have no idea where County Road 4022 is, welcome to the club. No idea. No clue. No idea. But while I don't think I've ever taught Deacon what County Road 4022 is, it's an area between here and near 434 and 7 and 77. It's like in the middle of all of that. It's between over there, and over there. Yeah. When I received a phone call saying that from a stranger, the deacon had been found, I went exactly to the place she told me to by following her directions. I saw him near a stop sign, and I was so excited because here's the dog. And I found him, and he saw me, And I believe because of the trauma that he'd been through the night before, he didn't recognize me. And he turned and ran the other direction. And I was creeping up on him on the car, and I was trying to be encouraging, and he kept running the other direction. Sometimes when people are lost, whatever they've been through makes them not even want to accept the help that we have to provide for them. And we can't take it personally. He ran into the field, and he's a really short dog. And he's white, and the field is green. And when he ran into the field, he disappeared because all I could see was green. But clearly he still had plenty of energy, because every now and then I'd see white above the green and then green. White above the green and then green. He's leaping like a deer, going down this tree line and then going farther and then hanging to the left and then once again disappeared into the green. I don't know where he is. For those of you who told me, congratulations on finding him, I need to be clear. Finding Deacon was not a one-person situation. And it's not that way for anyone who is lost. I called who had already come to my rescue the night before with encouragement and with searching. And I'm so thankful for all of those of you who had anything to do with trying to find this dog. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Lisa. I didn't even ask them to come. They just came. They can't hear me, but thank you, Cassandra. Thank you, Braden. Thank you, Chris. Thank you to all those. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you for all those that helped become a part of what I needed, because even though I could see where he went, I couldn't see where he was. And I could see that that dangerous freeway was farther ahead, and I didn't want him to get hit, because I've seen a dog of mine get hit, and I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want, after I found him, for something worse to happen to him. Brothers and sisters, even if they walk down the aisle, it's only just begun. Restoration begins with relationship and with celebration. We need to lose our minds. Twice in the parables before, it talks about how heaven rejoices over one sinner who repents. And so we should be so excited whenever somebody comes and wants to give their lives to Christ and be a part of the church. Because heaven's rejoicing. Why ought not we? I had seen the dog, I had found the dog, but I couldn't get to him on my own. So I was able to call Cassandra, and I was able to call Kevin, and they came, and then Cassandra went and got a four-wheeler, and she went this way, and Kevin went that way, and the goal was to keep him from getting harmed on the freeway. Why did God let him run away? To learn lost is lousy. To figure out being found is fantastic. And to navigate. Lost and found is life and is fickle. These last verses that are a significant portion of this text are really so sad. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. It was already bad enough that the older brother did nothing to participate in searching for his younger brother. There's nowhere in this text that the older brother refers to his little brother as a brother. He calls him his father's son. I don't even think he wanted him to be found. And the truth is, many places that call themselves churches, I think, are so comfortable with being comfortable, and are so comfortable with empty pews, and are so comfortable with people being lost. We don't even want people that don't smell good, that don't look good, who have been through what nobody ought to go through who is a child of God. We don't even want them sitting next to us. We don't want them being around us. So we just want to do what's comfortable for us. I think the way this word for anger, which is in the aorist passive indicative. It was as if he's angry because something had been done to him. When he took the money, it wasn't his money. It was his father's estate. When he went away, he didn't do something personal to him, but he took it personally. And so often we're so busy pointing a finger at somebody who's hurt us, as if they've done something to us, as if what they've done wrong to be lost is some angst against us. But I think I read this the other day. Matthew 5:22 talks about, I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, reka, which is an Aramaic term for contempt, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. I don't know why he wouldn't look for his little brother. I don't know why he didn't want to go in and refuse to celebrate. When his little brother was found, his dad had been looking to him, but he had an attitude and he looked everything. Man, what about me? What about me? What about me? What about me? Deacon, if you don't know where that field is huge. Cassandra called me from the 4x4 and told me Deacon had gone to the cemetery. What those of you don't know is that the name Deacon that my wife and I chose for him were named after people that we greatly valued. So Deacon was with Billy. He went to a place of comfort. He went to a place of compassion. I know Billy's not there anymore. It's just his remains. But Deacon went to a place where he can feel comfortable. Because the first time I saw him, he didn't recognize me. He'd been through too much trauma. He'd been through too much loss. And we have to be able to make people feel comfortable enough so that even if they're found, they don't feel judged. They don't feel like they can't come to us and share with us what they've been through, what they're going through. I didn't even call his name. I got in the cemetery with the car and turned the car off, and opened the door and just sat there. And I started going like this. To you and me, that's a chicken in distress. To you and me, that's a $6 toy that my wife's grandmother bought. And she can't stand it. Because when he plays with it, he just won't stop. And he makes all this noise, and she can't watch TV, she can't read, she can't think. It drives her crazy. But when I called his name, he couldn't appreciate my compassion for him. So I spoke to him in his language, in a place where he felt comfortable. And I let him come to me on his terms. We might not understand what the loss has been through in this life, but if we can be quiet enough to allow whatever they've been through to remind them, we got you, because God's got us and you, and invite them after they've come to themselves to come with compassion and to be received with love. And you realize that the father never brought up the past. When his son said his speech, Daddy didn't say anything about that. He just turned to the servant. He put a ring on his finger. He put sandals on his feet. And he made him feel welcome. And the anger of the older brother, It never was addressed whether he ever went in to the celebration. This was addressed because of the first and second verses in Luke chapter 15, verses 1 and 2. This parable was told because the religious folk, the scribes and the Pharisees, were too busy having an attitude about who Jesus hung out with. But we got to go to some unsavory places to reach people that are lost. I don't have time to talk about it. But there's a preacher named Alistair Begg who talked about the thief on the cross in heaven. The angel asked him, "How did you get here?" He said, "I don't know." Well, what do you mean you don't know? How is it that you're here in heaven? Can you? I don't know how I'm here. I'm just here. Well, let me get my supervisor. I can't handle this on my own. So he gets to the supervisor angel. And the supervisor angel says, "Well, you don't know how you got here? Well, let's start with, can you explain the dispensation of justification?" What? No. Okay, we'll go more simplistic. Can you explain the doctrine of Scripture? He looked at them like they'd lost their mind. He said, "Well, why are you here? A moment ago, you were cussing out folk, and you're a thief, and that's clear. Why are you here?" Because the man on the middle cross said I could be here. We ought to welcome anyone and everyone with open arms. For the justifying work Jesus did on the cross, by living a sinless life, dying, and being raised again, he gives us the opportunity to come home, no matter where we've been or what we've done. We invite you